I found out my husband's been hiding his identical twin brother from me for our entire marriage. To hear something I need to tell you, my husband Mark said, his voice shaking in a way I'd never heard before. Someone you need to meet. We'd been married for 7 years. I thought I knew everything about him, parn his childhood in foster care, his struggle through college, his dreams for our future. I was wrong. It started with a text message that wasn't meant for me. Mark had left his phone on the kitchen counter while showering, and when it chimed, I glanced down automatically. The preview showed flight lands at 8. Can't wait to finally meet her. When I asked him about it later, he went completely pale. After a long silence, he asked me to sit down, then disappeared into his office. He returned with a worn photo album I'd never seen before and placed it in front of me. This is my brother, he said, opening to the first page. My identical twin brother, Matthew. I stared at the photos in disbelief. Per two identical boys growing up side by side. In some pictures I couldn't even tell which was my husband. The album continued through their teen years, then abruptly stopped. We were separated in the foster system when we were 16, Mark explained. We promised we'd find each other again, but then his adoptive family moved overseas. We lost contact completely. I felt dizzy trying to process this. You have a twin brother, an identical twin brother, and you never once mentioned him to me. Mark's eyes filled with tears. I tried to find him for years, searched social media, hired private investigators, nothing. I had to accept that he didn't want to be found, or his voice broke, that something had happened to him. So who texted you today? I asked, already knowing the answer. Matthew found me, he whispered. 3 months ago. He's been living in Australia for the past decade. He's coming here tomorrow. He'd known for 3 months and said nothing. Why wouldn't you tell me something this important? I asked, my voice rising. 7 years of marriage and I am just now learning you have an identical twin. His answer broke my heart, because everyone I've ever loved has left when things got complicated. My parents, foster families, even Matthew. I was afraid if I brought this chaos into our life, you might decide it was too much. The next day I met my husband's identical twin brother. It was Cyril Parn, the same face, same voice, but with an Australian accent and slightly different mannerisms. Matthew hugged me like we were already family, then looked between us with tears in his eyes. I am so sorry, he said. Mark wanted to tell you immediately, but I asked him to wait. I needed to be sure I was staying before disrupting your lives. Over dinner, the story unfolded. Matthew had been adopted by a family that moved to Australia shortly after. He'd spent years searching for Mark too, but with limited information. A DNA ancestry test finally connected them 3 months ago. As I watched them together, parent finishing each other's sentences, laughing at inside jokes from childhood, mirroring each other's gestures, and I realized I was seeing a side of my husband I never knew existed. With Matthew, Mark was lighter somehow, as if a weight he'd carried his entire life had finally been lifted. That night after Matthew went to his hotel, Mark and I stayed up talking until dawn. He shared stories of their childhood I'd never heard, showed me more photos, and finally explained why he'd kept this secret. Matthew disappeared from my life once, he said quietly. I couldn't bear to get my hopes up to tell you about him and then have him vanish again. I needed to be sure he was really back before I could share that part of myself. I understand his fear, though the secrecy still hurts. We're working through it in therapy, Bardo, both as a couple and with Matthew included in some sessions. The brothers are inseparable now, making up for lost time. Yesterday, I overheard Mark on the phone with Matthew discussing Christmas plans. No, you have to come here, Mark was saying. She's already bought you a stocking with your name on it. Because while I am still processing the shock of discovering my husband has an identical twin he never mentioned, I am also witnessing the beautiful reunion of two brothers who never stopped missing each other. And that's something worth celebrating, even if it came wrapped in secrets.